A history of violence repeating in U.S. schools. Yesterday with a shooting in Iowa. In 2022 at actor Matthew McConaughey's hometown of Uvalde, Texas.
How about that?
It made him a voice for reforming gun laws.
How can a loss of these lives matter?
Now as an author, he's bringing a message to kids as well. My conversation with McConaughey touched on his message and his confidence that despite strongly held conflicting views in the U.S., change is possible. Matthew McConaughey, thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure, Ian. Good to be here.
You're doing these interviews because you have a new children's book, and we're going to get to that in a little bit. But I want to ask you, first of all, about a big issue in the United States and one that you've been very much involved with talking about, and that is school shootings. You're from Uvalde, Texas. About a year and a half ago, there was a terrible shooting at Robb Elementary School. And maybe start by telling us the impact that shooting had on you.
I mean, there's been multiple mass school shootings over the years, particularly here in the United States. And they all affected me as they affected everyone. This one was different because it was in my hometown. When it happened, when I heard it, I immediately went back. I knew where the shootings were. I'd been there. I almost went back there in my mind as a kid. And so it felt very present. My wife called. She was away out of the country. And she said, we got to go. And I said, I know. When we pulled out of the driveway, we knew, and I've talked about this before, that it was a one-way ticket. Meaning, like, you don't just swing into a town, see how you can help for a weekend, then walk away and say that's it. And we got down there and we listened. We were led. We met families. Camilla's still in touch with a lot of the mothers and still talks to them pretty consistently. Very soon after that, found ourselves going to Washington to go talk to some people who could help make the changes. Camilla's got these shoes. Can you show these shoes, please? Wore these every day. Green Converse with a heart on the right toe. These are the same green Converse on her feet that turned out to be the only clear evidence that could identify her after the shooting. How about that? I think we have to admit these things first before we can go about changing them. Right now, we don't like to admit that this is really a problem. We'll talk about it, but we turn our head and we go right back to our camp. We go right back to our tribe, right back to our identity. I talk about it a lot, of the contradictions that we need to admit in my children's book. It takes a lot of courage to listen to another side, an opposition, a differing opinion, and then come back and make a choice.
I had to look this up because I didn't believe my memory, but 19 students and 2 teachers were killed at Robb Elementary School. Parkland, not long before, I happened to be in southern Florida when that happened, and I arrived in Parkland that night, and 19 people, many of them high school students, were killed there. I think 11 years ago was Sandy Hook. 22 people, elementary school kids were killed there. And every time, and same thing with Uvalde, it's like, thoughts and prayers, changes need to be made, never going to happen again, but mass shootings keep happening. That's got to be frustrating for you.
I think it's frustrating for everybody. We have not found the answer, and we obviously can do better, and we have not found the solution. Nor is there going to be one-size-fits-all solution.
On June 25th, 2022, the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act was signed into law following the Robb Elementary School tragedy in my hometown of Uvalde, Texas.
Camilla and I just started this Green Lights Grant Initiative to help these school districts fill out a grant that gives them a really good chance of getting awarded this federal grant money, this first law that was passed in the United States in 28 years, to give grant money to safe in schools. Is that a solution? No. Is it a step forward? Yes. Look, both sides are really dug in. What on the staunch Second Amendments, and then you have some further on the left. They're like, we want no guns at all. I don't believe that it's gonna be an answer right now that's going to satisfy one side or the other. But steps like this, like the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, if we can get that money allocated to schools and then show proof of purchase that why that helped, how it abated a certain crime, or maybe a counselor caught another student who was going to do the wrong thing early, if we can prove that, those invisible assets, that will help us on our way to getting refunded and get the conversation going, hey, this worked. and on things that both sides can still agree on.
But my question is, like, given what you know about your country and your state and your concern about the school shooting issue, can America bridge this gap?
I think values are where we come together. There's values that both parties, that both camps agree on. Hey, we may disagree on this policy. We may disagree on this law. We may disagree about how to go about this. But hey, I'm a dad, you're a dad. We're parents. Let's meet right there. Now you and I can have a conversation. Now on opposing sides of the aisle, we can have that conversation and get a lot further than if we didn't bring that into the conversation. So values, I believe, are where we're going to bind ourselves.
I want to ask you about social media. You got like 9 million followers on Instagram. You got 3 million followers on X, which used to be Twitter. And so you know the power and the perils of social media. So I'm kind of curious about what you've learned about that. What kind of advice you have for everyone about social media.
It's the first time that mankind's been able to take something that we do, bam, press it out, send it, and then wait. I want to wait to see what those 9 million, some friends, some followers, some strangers think about it. And most of them don't know me personally, but what their response to what I put out, if I let it, will affect my day. We have to admit that. I want to go back to admittance again. And I'm 53. I've got a family. I've succeeded. I've won awards. It still affects me. I talk to my kids about it, and I think we can all remind ourselves is don't wake up every day thinking about what can I do that would be a good post. Rather, wake up and think, what am I going to do today? What do I want to do? What can I do today? And while we're doing it, go, you know what? That might be really cool to share. Now let me post it, but not the other way around.
A lot of wisdom there. So let's make a transition to a much different medium, and that is children's books. So I'm a parent. My kids are adults now. You know, I told my kids some great stories, but I never thought any of them elevated to like the level of needing to be in a children's book. Why did you write a children's book?
What's in the text and the covenants of just because is good for all of us, but something that it's never too early for children to just understand the context of the world that they're engaging with. The contradictions that we all each have. Just because they can choose doesn't mean that you have a choice. Just because they don't hear you doesn't mean you have no voice. How I feel about it may not be how you feel about it. Just to consider that. Because the kids today especially are getting pressured more and more to go, be absolute. Well, how do you feel? I had children said it before, I don't feel good. I said, why? She said, I'm excited, but I'm also nervous. And they thought those were dueling emotions. They felt like they couldn't have those two at once. I said, no, not only can you have those two at once, that's good too to have. And you will have those frequently through life.
Actor, advocate, author, pretty impressive life. Matthew, thank you very much for speaking with us.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed it. Thank you for the question.